we're covering right now. But
Yeah.
on the list of the pathway exam, they're there as well. So do we need to know them for the pathways or no?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Uh, and it's difficult to answer, to be perfectly honest.
Because in the possible content list, it's there, the law of supply
Yeah.
and law of demand. Like, do we learn in the last two lessons, the things we learned in the last two lessons are
Oh,
in the,
um,
like, like if you want, I can put the link and you want to see it?
yeah, no, I know what it is. I know what it is. I'm hesitating not because I don't know the answer. I'm hesitating not because I don't know the answer, but because I am trying to phrase it in a way that's not going to tell you the answer. Not, I'm trying not to tell you what's in the exam without telling you what's in the exam.
And what is the answer?
Yeah. So it is theoretically possible to include material about the law of demand and law of supply in the pathway exam. Yes, in theory, you can. It depends on your writing, okay? It depends on how well you write and what you choose to write on. Because, yeah. So therefore I put that there, and that's where I was thinking I would get to. We didn't get to there. So the questions in your pathway exam...
So you basically made a mistake.
No, I didn't make a mistake.
Okay, Dad.
All right, the questions in your pathway exam don't, strictly speaking, need to have information that we're currently learning in it. However, if you choose to include information that we're currently learning in your pathway exam, it's also not going to hurt. Does that help?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so that's probably the easiest and simplest way to explain it. Because the questions in your pathway exam are going to be general enough that you can include more or less anything that you've learnt up until and including now. And in fact, today's lesson you could include, and next lesson you could include. You know, all of that, it is theoretically possible to put them in, because the questions are more general than they are specific. Yeah. So if you choose to add them in, then yes, add them in. All right, it's not going to hurt.
Someone look at the shooting star symbol.
Can you not hear me? My microphone's on. You can?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Okay. All right, son. Maybe Joel can rejoin and see if he can.
Wait, I want to do something.
So, okay. So I think that answers your question, Sharaf. I'm hoping it does. In essence, you need...
Yeah, it does. It does.
Up until and including the behavioural economics unit, strictly speaking, that's it. Okay. If you wish to include content and theory that we have learnt since that time, it will be possible to do that within the scope of the exam itself, but it won't hurt your work if you don't include it. Yeah. And it also equally, I mean, it's not that it's going to help your work at all, but it's also not going to hurt it if you do choose to include it. So it depends how you write and what you choose to write. All right. Now we're going to jump here, unless there are further questions to that. Oh, yes, one more. You've obviously seen the email from Ms. Morag that the CMCO has been extended through to the 9th. This has obvious implications on pathway exams. There's going to be more information coming out. I haven't seen anything today. I believe by Wednesday there will be information from the school about how the school is going to do your pathway exam. And yeah, there is a chance now, a stronger than before chance, that your pathway exam will actually be online, and it will be using software. It will be using software that will limit what you can do on your computer. All right, that's I believe, what probably will happen now, because they don't want to keep pushing your pathway exam back later and later and later, but they might have to. There's also this weird thing where there's actually a Year 12 Parent-Teacher Learner Conference scheduled in the calendar as well, and it was scheduled for after your pathway exam. Yeah, so they're having to potentially push that back as well. And then there's reports and all sorts of things that may now have to be moved with regards to dates and times and things. All right, so yeah, the more we do this, the easier it will be, because I think we're going to be here for a couple of weeks at least. If we do it online, it will be done in class time, in the lesson time. So this sort of time would be when you'd be doing your exam. And because we've got 3 lessons per week, you'd have just 1 lesson, and that would be the exam. So if it comes to that, us, you and me, will need to discuss how we do that. Miss Amanda's going to produce another timetable, but then that might be adjusted again. So, yeah. All right, let's have a look. Now, I've posted the link to the Nearpod into the classroom. So hopefully, if technology all works, then we should, don't do that, please. We should end up here. Your code is PUQWR. PUQWR, and it's always here up in the top corner here. So if you could jump now into the Nearpod for the lesson. There are 10 of you in there already, so that's fantastic. If the rest of you could jump in there too, that would be great. That would be great. And we're going to move forwards. Again, if you're having any issues hearing me, or if there are any technological issues, please do let me know. Hopefully it will all be okay. All right, sorry, go back. Okay, so we'll move through and we'll get to where we were. All right. Okay, law of demand, law of supply, demand curve, determinants. Supply curves. Okay, we had equilibrium. We've had a discussion about disequilibrium. Yes? Yes?
Yes, we did.
Good. Just checking. All right, because the very first one, this one here, is if the price is set below the equilibrium. So what I'm going to like you to do is to draw it, to see if you can illustrate what happens when the price is below the equilibrium. There you go. Good work. Doctor-based. Okay. All right, so remember, this is the application, or part of the application of the skill, right? Seeing the model, but being able to illustrate how the model works its way to an equilibrium. Good Sheriff, looking good, Jensen. Yeah, try not to have it as a solid line in this case, Arena. Oh, there's two Arenas. Sorry, hurry on.
Whoa! Oh no. Okay. Oh wait. Fun with you.
Good work, Andrew. Doing well.
That activate. That core activate. That core activate. Damn. That function activate now. That question activate. Oh no. That one activate. That one activate. Activate flying mode.
That's looking good, Andrew. Very good.
Oh no.
Those are rock stars. Look at this. Well done. Fatimas. You've got it upside down, Fatima. We've got an excess of supply here. We're wanting it down here, so it would be an excess of demand. Yeah, it's looking good. Well done. It's the right idea, Kendrick. It's the right idea. It's not easy to draw on the computer with the drawing tools, and probably even more difficult if you're, having issues with Wi-Fi and various other bits and pieces. Doing well. Yeah, that's right, Joel. It's good, Max. Yeah. And about another minute. Good. Okay, always good to practice these diagrams so that you can illustrate that you know the movement between a disequilibrium and an equilibrium, how a market self-corrects. And then if we have a look at this one was the reverse. This one was where we had an excess of supply and the market, as we saw, ended up moving back to an equilibrium again. You had the inventories building up, you had the producers decreasing their quantities supplied, decreasing the price, consumers increasing the quantity they demanded, and then eventually ending up back at an equilibrium. So that was if the market price was set too high, so therefore, have a go at illustrating that one.
No. Oh, the monkey dream that my arms is coming. Okay, that's not true. It actually happened. I guess I got until what? I'm not in homework. I'm in iron corn. Iron Man corn. Iron Man corn. What did I do then? Remember the last day? I love Iron Man. Oh, I want to be just like
All right. Looking good. Well done, Andrew. Oh, good. Looking very good, guys.
electrical wire going to the evangelic light.
There we go. That's looking better, Fatima. Well done. Good work, Andrew.
Corn. Corn. Blah,
The other day, I posted, I have memory of posting a link to an electronic textbook, a new one, well, based on the new syllabus. It's not the one that we use. It was I think a Dorton and Rink one, and I suggested that you should probably link to that and keep it somewhere in your computer. That would be good to do, and you can obviously take section snapshots or copy out of that and add them to your notes. That would be a very good thing to do. So if you've got that link, please do use that. I'm not sure how long that link will still be there, but it will be a very useful thing to keep. If I find more of those, I will add them based on the new syllabus, obviously. Good work, Vincent, good work. That's exactly right. Well done. Okay, about another minute, and then we'll move on. Careful with the chair. The chair moves by itself, so back, all the way back.
I am.
Johnson, yes. Okay. Okay. You're back against the chair.
Can you go higher?
I don't know, son. I haven't tried.
I want to try more.
Excellent work done, eh? This is really good. It's really good work, that one. Well
You
done.
can go higher.
Oh, good. Right, okay, so we're going to move on. Again, very good to practice the diagrams. Make sure you're getting the application of it down. I think we did this before. We worked on these about supply and demand increasing and decreasing.
I don't think so.
I think so. Okay.
We stopped at the excess supply.
All right. Okay. So what happens in a market if demand increases? All right. What happens to the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity if demand increases? So where you go? Have a go at that.
Yeah, hard. It will never go down now.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
So all the way back. Be very careful on the chair because it's got wheels.
Welcome to Daddy and Hollycon. The Angel-con. Can we do this?
Yeah. Well, I need to fix the chair
Why?
because the chair is too low.
What?
Work. That's very good. Well done. Remember, the point is that you're illustrating what happens to the equilibrium price and quantity. You're feeling very good, Jensen.
What do we have to do?
Well, they've been asked to illustrate a market, and the demand curve, which is this one,
Yeah.
has to increase. So it shifts to the right
Yeah.
because that's 0. So it's shifting to the right, which means it is away from 0. So it's increasing. And as it increases, there should be illustrating an increase in the equilibrium price, which they've done, and an increase in the equilibrium quantity.
Okay. What does quantity?
Number.
I hear it more like a fancy word.
Yeah, quantity is a fancy word for number. So you can have quantities, which means more than one.
Oh, and then
Mhm.
one way it can go down.
Good. Good work, team. Looking very good. We're about a minute. Maybe that's going to be light into the screen. Maybe that's light into the screen.
What is that? The screen is what?
It puts light on the screen, son. That means they can't see.
You can't see it now?
All right. Okay. Looking very good. Now, okay, so that was an increase in demand. So what can you tell me has happened to the equilibrium price and quantity?
It shifts to the right.
Yeah, the demand curve shifts to the right. So what happens to the equilibrium price and quantity?
Oh, it increases.
Both increases, sir.
Both increase. Well done. Absolutely. So anytime you've got a market model, this is like one of those sort of life hacks sorts of ideas. Anytime you've got a market model, what you see is that if it shifts to the right, the price level will always rise in a market. All right, and the equilibrium quantity will also increase. Okay, so anytime it shifts to the right, the price level will increase and the equilibrium quantity will increase as well. What happens if demand shifts to the left?
Then the equilibrium will decrease. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh, yeah, exactly what you just said.
Yeah, the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity will both decrease. So again, it's a bit of a life hack, so you know. So when the examiner asks you about, it's now starting to be annoying.
Okay, Daddy.
All right. When the examiner asks you about what's happening in the market, what happens to equilibrium price and quantity, or just yourselves, if you are wondering why the price has reached a certain level for a particular product, it could very well be that it is because demand has increased. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on. And again, practicing the diagrams so that you're able to illustrate them is a really good thing to be able to do. Illustrating the changes. I'll move on one more. Now, the next one is supply. So this time, what happens in a market model if supply increases? Here we go.
I have two questions.
You have a what?
Questions. Questions.
Quizzes.
What we can do on today. Like right now.
Well, when we finished school today, Mummy and I found something really cool that we thought you would like.
What is it?
We discovered it by accident last night.
What do you do? Okay, I want to know. Please tell me.
What were we trying to find yesterday and we couldn't find?
I don't know.
We were looking on Netflix. What were we trying to find yesterday for you?
Leave it alone.
Guess what we found?
Leave it alone. Yay! I need to find it.
By accident.
How you? What was it?
Netflix.
What did you do to get the Netflix?
I accidentally stumbled across it.
Or did you just like? Were you just doing Netflix? I want to watch something, but I don't know. And you just found free below. Aww.
No, I had a thought that the Netflix I wondered if the Netflix on mine was different from the Netflix on yours, and then I wondered if the Netflix on the TV was affected by the internet, which we had the internet problem yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So then I thought, well, I'll have a look and see if I can see your program,
Yeah.
see if it is actually there, and turns out I found it.
Yay! Share some, Mom.
No, Mum knows.
Oh.
So maybe you can watch that this afternoon.
With you guys.
Later on this afternoon.
Yay.
All right. Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was just wanting the supply curve to shift, not the demand as well, but okay. I see that you've done that. All right, good work, Max. Yeah. Fatima, I was wanting an increase in supply. Sorry if that wasn't clear.
My bad. No, that was me. Sorry.
Good. Okay, we've got about 1 more minute.
This is supposed to hold your controller. Why don't you really use it? I use it for like photos. And then I might want to draw it. But I don't even know how to like draw it. Like a huge statue.
Difficult.
I'll do a statue of Iron Man or something. I can make a stand. Make him sit down.
Good idea.
Oh, he fell down. He fell down in the
All right, well done, team. That's very good. No, I like what you've done.
Do you have any questions about your school?
All right, now what can you tell me about if supply increases? What happens to the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity?
It decreases.
You sure?
What?
Think a little bit carefully about what I asked. What happens to the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity?
Quantity increases,
Mm-hmm.
but price decreases.
Well done. So again, remember we had a supply curve which was positively sloped, all right? And that relationship therefore was essentially you've got the price and the quantity, but they're going to move in the same directions up the supply curve. So when the supply curve shifts, you're seeing the two forces, so price and quantity, they're going to be moving in the opposite directions to each other, right? Because it's then tracking along the demand curve, right? And because it's upward sloping. So in the case of an increase in supply, so any time that there's an increase in supply in any market, then you should, in theory, see a decrease in price along with that increase in quantity. Right? So therefore, if there was a decrease in supply, what would happen?
Increase in price and decrease in quantity.
Well done. That's absolutely right. So again, what you've got then is you've got four possible situations. You've got an increase in demand, an increase in supply, a decrease in demand and a decrease in supply, and the resulting effects on price and quantity, the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity of that. Now, in the past, what we used to do is we used to get, the learners to draw a little table up and annotate, so because there's four, so you'd have 4 stages showing the shifts. You could even have a little diagram of a market model showing the changes as well, and then just write them in. That way they would always remember that whatever is happening, there are only 4 possible outcomes. Now, you're starting to be a pain, son.
I just want to touch the mouse now.
I don't want you to because that's what I'm controlling the presentation on.
Okay.
All right. Now, what we can find is that it is possible for there to be 2 shifts. So you could have a shift in demand and a shift in supply. And if that's the case, then one of the words that we're going to use is a word that might be indeterminate. We may not be able to tell what happens to the price if that occurs. So if there was an increase in demand at the same time as an increase in supply, all right, so down here, okay, it may be that dependent on the size of the shifts, we aren't able to tell your equilibrium's in the wrong place. Your equilibrium should be here, all right? We may not be able to tell where the price is, or it may be that we may not be able to tell what has happened to quantity. Okay? So it depends on whether you're having one single shift or multiple shifts occurring at the same time. Please don't play. Expensive. All right, now, here is what we call the functions of a market. So when we're talking about functions, again, we're talking about the job of a market, okay, what a market does. So this is the job of a market. Now we know that the market will allocate scarce resources, okay? That's part of the idea of there being supply and demand. But one of the key things, and this is the language part, is something called a rationing function. So that one of the jobs of the market is for the market to eliminate any shortages or surpluses that occur. And it will do that by rationing. It will do that by allowing the price to rise, which will decrease the quantities being consumed. So here's the example. The price is rising and the quantities therefore are decreasing, all right? All right, which is what we worked out with regards to a decrease in supply. So that rations the product, okay? That means whatever the product is, so it could be food, it could be, renting, it could be tickets to a sporting final, It could be online auctions, whatever it is. What's ended up happening is that the price has risen, decreasing the quantity, so therefore you are rationing, allocating, right, how many there is possible to get, right, eliminating any possible shortages that may have occurred. Okay, so the market will, please leave it, son, I need to fix that, it's broken. The market will automatically move, unless it's interfered with by, say, the government, for example, it will, in theory, move all the time back to an equilibrium. So it acts like a traffic light, okay? And that's the next one.
You go and red light you stop, and yellow light you have to slow down.
That's absolutely right, son. It acts like a traffic light telling producers and consumers what to do. And when Adam Smith was writing about this back in the back in the old times of 1776, sort of Shakespearean language and all of those sorts of things, and this is when it was very pseudo-religious sort of language, and they would talk about being guided. The market was guided as if by an invisible hand. Nobody was telling the market to do this. The market just did it, right? So the rationing function is where the market will eliminate any shortages that occur, right? Eliminating any shortages that will occur by encouraging a decrease in quantities consumed through the raising of prices. So therefore, you can probably guess what I'm going to want you to do. Close the gaps. Away you go. Well, I'm going to fix it at some point soon. I might need your mother's help with some of the tools, but it needs to be fixed because it's broken.
Why is it broken?
Because it's not particularly strong, son, right? And therefore it is broken.
It doesn't look that bad.
No, it doesn't look bad, son, but trust me, it is. Don't, son, it is broken. I told you that. I told you that, so now you need to leave it so that I can fix it. I'd rather you didn't play with that, son, because those are bits that I'm going to need to use to fix it. Okay, so if you can leave that so that I can still have those, otherwise I'm not going to be able to fix it if I don't have those. And therefore, we won't be able to use it at all until we get a new one. Great work, team. Well done. All right, so if we have a look at the answers, there they are. The allocation mechanism is a traffic light telling producers and consumers what to do as if guided by an invisible hand. All right. Yep. All right, and that comes under the idea, the next bit is that the market, the other function, so rationing, the other one is signaling. So that's the information. All right, so that's the pricing containing information that the consumers and producers are going to receive and then make their decisions, or it will help make them make their decisions, okay? So coffee farmers, they see the prices changing and that provides them information. We should plant more crops of coffee, right? That's the gas, oil and gas. Prices have started to rise, therefore we should produce more. And again, it's that traffic light idea. Okay, so there's an example there for you. Now, in the slides, which you've got access to through the sites, there are videos here from Econ Plus DAO, and obviously our friend ACDC Leadership, Mr. Oh, George, what's his name again? Forgotten. Okay. And they both talk about the equilibrium and disequilibrium, and then, of course, the shifting of the curves, just as a wee visual reminder. And then here, this one was Marginal Revolution University. They got some very good websites, very useful video clips, but they are actually, you know, they're aiming at slightly above IB level, but some of their videos are at IB level, so they're very useful. Then again, Econ Plus DAO talking about the price mechanism and the functions that are there. So if you're needing to review those, there's some there. Now, the next bit to think about, and this will be one of the last things that we think about today because we will need to carry on with this in the next lesson, is the idea of efficiency. Now, this is really important, efficiency, because efficiency, as you're aware, is one of our major themes. Now, you've got 9 themes in total, right? And efficiency is one of those. So this is the theme that you are going to hit quite a lot when we're talking about microeconomics. And therefore, this is going to be one of the things that we are going to touch on in particular with regards to your internal assessment, your coursework number 1, which we will be having a discussion about in, I think it's about another month's time now. Now, I don't know, as said, when exactly your pathway exam will be, but that will obviously take some time out. And then after your pathway exam, if we are back at school by then I'll be wanting to go through your exams with you just to talk you through your answers. And that will take a little bit of time out. But yeah, in essence, we will be continuing on looking at efficiency and then your IAs after that. No, one more topic and then your IAs after that. Subunit and your IAs after that. Right, so firstly, what is efficiency all about? Now, this is a really significant thing, the major thing, and we're talking about how well we use those scarce resources. So in the old days, you know, you remember Vilfredo Pareto, he talked about the optimality idea, how optimal our use of scarce resources was. And if we were on the PPC curve, then that was efficient, right? If we were inside, it wasn't efficient, because we weren't using our resources to the best of what we do. So that's what efficiency is all about. It's about how well we're going to be using our resources. All right, so we're going to talk about a whole range of different types of efficiency. So we've got allocated, productive, dynamic, and social. But we also need to consider that if, and here's the kicker. This is what will lead us into the next subunit, right? But we still do this subunit. And that is this bit here. If we aren't efficient, then we are going to be inefficient. So there are going to be opportunities when our market isn't going to work. So even though we've got the price mechanism and all of that working, right, hopefully 100%, our market might still fail. And we're going to discuss why that is. And it's going to be tied to the idea of efficiency. We're also going to tie it to ideas about government intervention. And that subunit there about government intervention and market failure, when we look at those, that's when we're going to start discussing your IA, your commentary number 1, because your commentary 1 is going to be about market failure, okay, which is that little sentence there. All right, now moving on. So the first type of efficiency that we need to think about is economic efficiency. Right, this is on that Pareto optimality idea. This is your PPC, right? This is where you are able to produce, okay, where there is no other way that you can produce without making someone else worse off. So you're doing the absolute best you possibly can, and there's no way you can rearrange things without taking from one person to give to another. So that statement is that there is a Pareto optimality, or if you like, a Pareto efficiency, or another way, an economic efficiency. So economically efficient models is where the allocation of resources is such that it's impossible to make one person better off without making someone else worse off. So therefore, an inefficiency, so if we back away from that level of efficiency, then it's going to be possible to make someone better off without making someone else worse off. So this one, you're on the PPC curve, and this one, you are inside the PPC curve. So very quickly, what did you take away from the idea of economic efficiency? There you go.
Because the one man churches and the other man churches. I saw something in the pen and the dump movie. Why was churching in the dump for treasure?
Please don't break that some. Thank you. Okay, let's see how we're getting on. Yep, that's a good idea. Well done. Please don't. Yes, good. Okay. Yeah, you've kind of argued your way to allocative inefficiency. Yeah, okay. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Okay, so Nisa is having Wi-Fi issues, so we'll
Not
keep her
wait
up
for
for that.
her. Is Anisha a boy or no?
We're looking good with that. We're on the right path. Well done. All right, okay, so we will move on. And I want to look at this one. All right, so here, right, is the idea of productive efficiency. So we've got an economy that's not able to produce any more of one good without reducing the production of another good. So it's a movement on from economic efficiency into the idea of production in this case. So again, it's that PPC curve. You're on the PPC curve. You are productively efficient. You're using all of the resources to the best you possibly can, and you are therefore producing as many as you possibly can. All right. If you're inside here, there are resources that are not being used, so therefore that's inefficient, and obviously outside you can't reach those. So on the curve, anywhere on the PPC curve is classified as productively efficient, because you're using your resources to the best you possibly can, and the only way to produce more sugar, is to reduce the output of pizza. Okay. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing now and come back to the screen where everybody is. All right, okay. Yes, that's the one. That's the link. No, yeah, it's topic 2, Joel. The topic 2 website, I can post that. Oh no, it's there already. Yep, that's it there. Thank you, Sharaf. All right, now the idea of efficiency is one of your major themes. You've got 9 in total. It's going to then connect to the idea of market failure, and from there we're going to talk about government intervention, because the government's going to intervene in the market to try to fix market failure, and all of that then therefore will be wrapped up in a very nice little bow and become part of your IA, your coursework number 1. Okay, you're going to do through. All right, now ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to finish up there. I would like you to review these ideas. So practice moving the curves and understanding about why and where they shift and what the implications are for an equilibrium. And these initial ideas about what efficiency is, what economic efficiency is, and what productive efficiency is. If you have any particular questions, please do ask. Otherwise, as we'd say in the land of my birth, hey, Korneda, please have a brain break before your next lesson so that you can just, and maybe not on the screens, just resting, chilling. All right? That would be a good thing to do as well. Okay?
Mr. David?
Yeah.
I think the slide, like the tab of the slides on the website is so large, it's like not loading. I don't know if it's just me, but it's not. Yeah, it's just so large and there's so much stuff on it. I think it's just crashing.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. I did wonder about that. The one that I did the other year, which had absolutely everything on it, that was enormous. So that would even take even longer. Yeah.
Maybe for now,
I
so
can-
you could share us into the slides. For
Yeah.
today, just for now.
Yes, absolutely. And we will do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic day. Please do email me if you have any particular questions. I will do the sharing of the slides as well as obviously the recording from the lesson as well. Have a great day.
Mr. David,
Yeah.
would I be able to ask you some questions about a possible EE?
Yes, certainly.
Because I was kind of like intrigued by behavioral economics and kind of wanted to go along the lines of addictive / demerit goods when it comes to behavioral economics, and like basically I would be researching like specific examples. Like I kind of wanted to do Red Bull and see why people will buy it even though it's like deemed a harmful product, or like a lot of the population believe it's harmful to you, and like the kind of behavioral economically things behind that. Would that work?
Yeah, you'd need to probably do more than that. Your EE needs to be researching like a theory within there. So it might be.
What?
I'm trying to talk to the student and you're being distracting. Can you take that off my head?
I'm looking upon some of the
So, for example, all right, the old one that we used to do quite a lot was, is this specific industry perfectly competitive, yes or no? And then you're able to test that based on the theory and the assumptions that are within the theory. So you need to be quite specific with what you chose from a behavioral economics point of view. It might be
Like nudge theory. Would I be able to talk about nudge theory and how marketing and like how producers like a Red Bull, for instance, would push their consumers to consume it even though it's irrational?
Yeah, it's always, I tell you, writing economics isn't easy, and you're treading dangerously close to PhD sort of level. That's one of the big problems. Does the theory of bounded rationality impact on consumer choices when deciding on consumption of Red Bull? Does the theory, do producers use, how effective is nudge theory in the impacting on the sales of Red Bull? But then you also need to be specific. So you need to be trying to look at, it's not just Red Bull. It would need to be Red Bull within one region that you're able to test. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was looking at previous EE questions, and it was like comparing the demand of cabbages or something between two cities in South Korea. And so then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it has to be pretty specific. But I just wanted to ask if it's like that type of direction is all right for an EE.
Yes, potentially. As I say, you run the risk of it turning into a PhD, and then it would be far too difficult to do.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to do something within the space of a few months. That's all you've got time-wise. And you've got to do the academic research that comes into that.
Yeah.
You need to have primary data collection. So if it's not possible to do primary data collection at all, then you're not going to be able to do it. But in theory, you could with this. So yeah, if you came up with a good question, I can probably give you a bit more feedback on it. But yeah, there is something there, and there are a number of learners around the world being, part of the economics teachers' conversations who are choosing behavioural economics, particularly because of the new syllabus as part of their EEs. Yeah, I don't know when are you having your meetings about EEs and the like?
We're meant to have. Wait, I wrote it down 1 second. They want us to kind of have a. Oh my gosh, where is it? In November, we have to send out a proposal to departments, and we'll be allocated supervisors. And then in February, we have our final pitch with our research question.
Okay.
So and they were just asking us to like think about which subjects we were interested in, and like potential RQs we could have. And I was like, I don't know, because for me it's between English and econs, but English I think it would be rather boring because I can just pick a book and write about it. And I wanted to like, I know it would be hard because it's econs, but I kind of wanted to try.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there's a connection between it and maths as well. So you'd have to, you could think about the maths of it, and your capabilities are, statistical analysis with regards to it, because you need that. And then it's primary versus secondary data. The secondary data will be relatively straightforward to come across. One of the things I recommend, and this isn't easy, is to find secondary research that is aligned with what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So somebody else has done research that is similar to what you are looking at, but maybe a different product or a different country, or so that you've actually got a framework of research already done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I was like, one of my friends in year 13 is doing an EE in bio, and they were doing it on data analysis, more of like secondary research. And so like they kind of explained it to me, and like I understand how you have to find something similar and then relate it to everything. And yeah, I get that.
Right. And it helps because then somebody else has already answered a lot of the questions, and then you can just use that as the basis. Such and such did this. But in my situation, I find, and it gives you an academic feedback, so to speak, to your, so I would recommend that. If you give me a possible question that you are thinking about, the other recommendation I might have is I mean, you're not far enough down the track yet, but if you had two or three different questions, and that's taking a bit of a cognitive leap to be able to do that. If you had two or three different questions, then when it comes to the final yes or no, if one of them's a no, then you've still got another couple that you can do some work on, as opposed to starting all over it. Right?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Bye. Have a good day.
Hello, you too. You all right, Ariane? Hello, Ariane, are you still here? Okay, I'm going to close off the meeting. If you have any questions, Ariane, maybe email me them. Thank you.